Welcome to a special edition of Gracefully Graying as I welcome Wendy Potts, who is a true legend of the law. I want our viewers to like this video, to share this on our Gracefully Graying YouTube channel and also at gracefullygraying.com. Wendy, welcome to Legends of the Law.
Great to be with you, Henry.
First of all, tell us about your background.
Okay. Mumford High School in Detroit, University of Michigan, go blue for undergrad.
Yes, go blue.
And Wayne State University for law school. I went to law school at night, Wayne State, went for a couple of years at night, taught the school in Detroit, math and English, and then I took off 10 years to have my daughters. Then I went back 10 years later to Wayne State in the day, completed, got my degree. And the one thing I will say is when I was in night school, there were 3 women in my class. And when I went back during the day, 40% women.
Oh, it's changed drastically.
So much.
When I went to U of M Law School, my class of, I think, 450, there were 9 women in the class. So it's a different world. What made you decide to become a lawyer?
Okay, and this is going to sound very corny, but when I was in high school at Mumford, we took a field trip to a courthouse, and we sat and we observed court proceedings. And I decided that even though it wasn't a place for women, I wanted to become a lawyer. And I'm happy to say that I had many classes visit my courtroom. And I wonder how many of those students ended up thinking it was a pretty special place and decided to pursue the law.
You're being married to a lawyer. Did that have any impact?
Well, it did. I met him in night school, and I finished during the day. But we were kind of on different tracks. He had a successful career, and I was just launching many years later.
Tell us about your practice as a lawyer. Did you start out with Clark Hill? I remember you being with Clark Hill for a number of years before you became a judge.
I was with Hill Lewis first, which merged into Clark Hill.
Okay.
And I did a lot of family law, which, let me tell you, having been an attorney and then having been a family court judge for a short time, it's a tough road. Clients are in a difficult spot, and the lawyer tries very hard to make it happen and make it work out and keep the client happy, and you're dealing with children and the most important decisions.
It's an important area, and there are no winners, and no one's happy because
Right.
It's a miserable time in your life, and there's a lot of psychological overlay beyond the legal aspects.
And I tried to keep that in mind when I was a family court judge because I knew the attorneys were juggling various clients, and there were backstories that I didn't know about. So it was an interesting perspective.
What made you decide to become a judge?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I was the kind of person who could never make up their mind. So I thought that would be good. I could be a judge. And I liked compromise. So, I tried to bring people together. And I mediated a few cases, even early on. And I just thought it would be a kind of natural fit for me.
And you became a judge. Tell us about that process.
Okay. Funny story. John Engler called me on Valentine's Day and he said, I don't have a Valentine for you, but I've got a probate judgeship for you. So I took that instead. And I started as a probate judge for 10 months. And then he called me again and said, would you like to be a circuit judge? Okay. So I was appointed 2 times. I ran, I think, 2 or 3 times, never contested, but the last race was hotly contested, and it was really miserable.
Why?
Well, I don't know if you recall, but judges sometimes run as a group, and there was an outside group who was running against the group of incumbents, and it became incredibly expensive. They spent millions of dollars to try to knock one of the judges off whom they disagreed with.
Oh, I remember that. To no avail. It's like, especially in Oakland County, I don't know of an incumbent circuit judge who has ever lost. And
I can't think of one. District, a few times, but not circuit.
now, when you were a circuit judge, tell us about the areas of law that you covered. For a while, before the family court, yes, you did family law as part of it, but after the family court, you were on the general docket and you covered a lot of other areas. Tell our viewers about that.
Okay. I started in probate, I did juvenile, family, then I moved to the circuit, criminal, civil, and then I was one of 2 judges appointed to the Oakland County Business Court.
And how many years were you on the business court?
5. Judge James Alexander and I were the originals, but because I had to retire, I didn't do my 6-year. They're 6-year terms.
What would be some of the highlights of your career as a judge for our viewers?
Okay, highlights. Number 1 was being chief judge during a recession. That was challenging and interesting. We had to cut millions of dollars off the budget. We were dealing with jail overcrowding, so it certainly was memorable. And then the other one was one of my very last cases. It's one of these cases they call a juvenile lifer, where someone who's a teenager kills someone, is sentenced to life in prison. But because of a change in the law, they come back and the judge has to decide, are you going to let them be paroled? And the one that I had, he was already in his mid-70s and had been a model prisoner. And they were asking if I would allow him to be paroled.
What'd you do?
He was a good guy. He made a terrible mistake so many years before. And I said, yes, he can be paroled. I made lots of findings. And that very day, he was paroled and out.
Did you ever hear anything after?
Yes, he moved in with family. He wrote me a letter. He said he was having a good life, but prison had taken its toll on his body.
How many years was he in prison, if you remember?
30, maybe 30, 25, 30, 35 years. A long time. He started programs. He was well liked. He didn't have infractions. And even the person, the family of the person who was murdered, they did not come in and object.
So everyone agreed that he'd been a model prisoner and he should be allowed to spend some time outside of prison for the rest of his life.
Yes.
Were there any cases other than that stand out in your mind?
The fantastic Jenny Jones case was a case that came back to me. I hadn't done the first trial. It was totally reversed. And this is the one where he went on the Jenny Jones show. He was supposed to talk about a secret crush. And the person, he was behind the screen, said their secret crush, it was a man. Secret crush was my defendant. And he got mad and he went and he got a gun and he shot him and killed him. And so I had the retrial of that case, and I was a new judge. And the TV, they ran it like live stream back then. And it was very, very exciting.
I know there was a huge verdict. Wasn't that ultimately overturned as well, the damages, or?
Good memory, Henry, yes. Simultaneously, there was a civil case against the show for causing this murder. There was a huge verdict, 25, 30 million, and against the TV station. I don't know if it was which one it was, but totally reversed. It was reversed by the Supreme Court and became a no cause.
I remember that. What would you say were some of the frustrations of being a judge?
Drugs.
Let me digress for a minute. It's one thing where you're a litigator, you're taking a position, and you're arguing for a client. When you're a judge, you have to listen to the arguments, and sometimes they're not so brilliant, and you have to, you're almost like the umpire calling balls and strikes, for lack of a better word. So for a while, was it frustrating?
It was almost scary because there's a lot of discretion in, say, family court cases. But when you've got civil cases, you've got the law, and it kind of guides you, tells you where to go. Sometimes you want to jump in and say to a lawyer, stop it. Don't make that argument. Make this one. So we need good lawyers because people deserve good representation. These cases are very complicated.
Overall, during your career as a judge, do you think there was good representation by and large? Well, what do you think of the quality of the bar?
I love lawyers.
You are one.
I learned this when I started mediating with JAMS. The lawyers have to deal with clients who are always looking over their shoulders. And they're juggling schedules. They have to be in 3 courtrooms. So lawyers have a very, very tough job. And so we need high caliber, really good attorneys out there. And there are many. And in fact, yesterday, the bar results came out. And I had an intern who just wrote me a little, two words. I passed. Exciting.
Wendy, you were term limited because in Michigan, once a judge reaches the age of 70, you can finish out a term, but you cannot run again. What is your view on the term limit of age 70 in Michigan?
Well, Henry, the interesting thing is federal judges can sit for life. And there are judges, at least one there, who's in his 90s. State court judges can't run after 70. And I think, whereas I was okay with it, I think with the advances in medicine and people being so vigorous, I really think a good age would be 75. I think it's time to raise it to that point because of the state of health.
Yeah, we're all living longer. Why not? So, yeah, I think that's a good compromise because I think you get to a certain age and maybe, even if you're sharp, maybe you're worn out. Maybe it's too much. But 75 does make a lot of sense. What about retirement? You're no longer a judge, but I know you're very, very active. Tell us about your current career, your new career, for lack of a better word.
I love waking up late, 7 o'clock. I used to wake up like at 5:30. Going to Starbucks, meeting friends for lunch in jeans. And I love working with JAMS. They make my life fun. I love hearing the backstories of cases, working with the lawyers. But I'm not in a fishbowl anymore, Henry. It's my life. I can walk around the block while it's still light out. And it's a different feeling. You're sort of in control of your life.
What is JAMS? Tell our viewers.
JAMS is an organization of people throughout the country who do mediations and arbitrations. And it's a very fine organization. And what they do is, I'm an independent contractor. I work on my own, but they have a beautiful office with facilities in Detroit. Of course, now everything is pretty much Zoom, but they schedule for me, which is great. So they have to work through maybe 2 or 3 lawyers, what their schedules are, and they keep my calendar and they help me when I need it. And I'm with some really very good people, but I don't see them very often because, when you're working, you're on your own.
Are you doing many mediations and arbitrations now?
I am doing 3 mediations a week. That's about what I want to handle so I can be prepared. I'm not yet putting my name on the arbitration lists because I'm so busy with the mediations. And the arbitrations require a lot of orders and opinions. And as a mediator, I walk in, try to settle the case. And, if it doesn't settle, keep in touch with people. Like my mediation that's coming up, it's one, I've already seen them before. And it's a divorce. And they're coming back. Doesn't always happen on the first try. But JAMS is my support system. They're great.
That's good. Are you doing any other projects besides mediation with JAMS?
Well, I still trying to get my book published, Henry.
Tell us about that.
My 1200. Really, and I'm writing another book called Call Me Chloe. And that talks about my life since I left the bench.
See, my book, I just co-wrote a book with Jack Haynes called Child Custody, A Complete Guide for Parents, that came out in August.
I have it.
You do?
Yes, I have it.
Right.
I haven't read it all, but I think people need to read it.
Well, we try to cover every issue from both legal and psychological perspectives. And it's not only a tool for the lay audience, but it's a tool for attorneys in their practices.
No, it's excellent. I mean, it's a great guide for, as you say, people going through the process and attorneys. You did well.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure yours will be great when it comes out. It takes a long time, but it's worth it when it's done. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about becoming a lawyer?
I would say times are different now. You need to be at the top of your class. You need to be outstanding.
Why?
Because there are so many lawyers and only a limit of clients. And I think associations and firms are looking for people not that just got through law school, just passed the bar. You need to distinguish yourself. So I would recommend hard work and, of course, joining bar associations, becoming involved.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to become a judge?
I would say, don't just wake up one day and say, I want to be a judge. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of work. You need to chart out a plan, meet with people that can advise you, that can help you, and go for it.
Now, when you started out, again, you and I went to Mumford, and women became basically teachers. And you broke the mold, you became a lawyer. Now, what advice would you give to a young woman who's thinking about a career?
things are a bit different now. There are more women. We have role models like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The sky's the limit for a woman, but find balance in your life. And I would say specialize. You can't do everything. Find a field you're interested in, work at it, learn it, and go for it.
Retired Judge Wendy Potts, legend of the law, there's some final thoughts you'd like to share before we sign off in the next few moments.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. I love the legal profession. I'm proud of it. It's been good for me, good to me. So I just wish everybody the best.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. And you're a true legend of the law.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you for watching this series of Gracefully Graying, a special with Wendy Potts as a legend of the law. View us on YouTube, also on our Gracefully Graying channel, and also, of course, at Bloomfield Television. Thank you so much for watching.